Hi, this is Lady Lex UK and this is a Dreams Tools tutorial. Previously we had a look at the tools section in the main menu, which is the green tools here, and you can see it goes undo, redo, move, stretch and clone. If I go into modes and then sculpt mode and then tools, you'll see similar if not the same icons. You've got undo, redo, move, stretch, clone. But don't be fooled, they don't do exactly the same things. So first of all, let's put down some objects. I'm going to put down a cube with a cone on top. And then I'm going to do start new sculpture and I'm going to put down a sphere. So come out, we'll get back into assembly mode, so that's R1 and circle to get back out, and you'll see we have two objects. I press R2 and I can lift and move these two objects around. Oh, there's a third object which is the floor. If I go into sculpt mode and I select move, pressing R2 on any of these objects, absolutely nothing happens. Nothing moves, nothing is selected, I can't move them. So it's not exactly the same tool. In order to move these objects, I have to scope in. If I scope in L1 and X on the sphere, I can now move the sphere. But before, when we were in assembly mode, if I tried to select this object, it would select this and the cone. But in sculpt mode, it only takes the individual sculpts themselves. So you scope in with L1 and X, and then you can only move the one that you scoped into. You can't move the entire object. So if you wanted to move an entire object that's made up of multiple sculpts, you don't need to be in this mode. You have to be out of it and in this mode. Otherwise you can have what we've got here, where it's gone slightly out of kilter, it's moved. So make sure you're scoped out before you start moving objects with multiple sculpt shapes. So there we go, that's the difference between those two. Let's go back in. The next one is stretch. Now previously we did a tutorial on the stretch tool, and that was to do with objects that are connected with connectors. The stretch tool in sculpt mode is a completely different tool. So let's choose it and I'll scope in to my cube, and now you see as I put my imp to any of the axes of the cube, you'll see a little white arrow come out. If I then hold R2 and pull, I can then stretch it on that axis. Now, something that you need to be aware of with this tool is that there is a thermo hit for when you stretch something to make it bigger as opposed to increasing its size. So let me just get rid of these objects. We'll put down an ordinary cube and we'll turn on the thermo. So here we have the graphics memory. It says 2%. And if I then in assembly mode grabbed it with R2 and then pushed up on the D-pad and made it trying to make it 200%. Well, doesn't want to go to 200%. Come on. 205, that'll do. So we've made it 200%. It's still 2% graphics memory. Let's go into sculpt mode and get our stretch tool out, and we'll stretch it so that it's bigger. And now you'll see it's at 4% graphics. And that's because the density of the fleck within the object is maintained when you stretch it. Well, if you make it bigger in assembly mode, the actual flecks are being moved further apart so that the fleck is less dense. So you're getting more flecks in your object by stretching it than you are from increasing the size of it in assembly mode. So watch for that. If you just want the object twice the size and the density is not important, then do it in assembly mode. If you need to keep the crispness, then you need to do it in sculpt mode with the stretch tool. The next one along is clone. To be honest, I am not 100% sure why you need this at all. Because the shortcut for cloning, L1 and R2, it's one of those things you've got a button here to clone, so that it's just R2 with that on. So if you're doing a lot of cloning, it might be worth putting that button on. Otherwise, stick it on move and use L1 and R2 to clone your objects. We've already gone through cloning in the previous tutorial, so we know what cloning does. You cannot live clone. There's no live clone option in sculpt mode. You can't live clone a sculpt. You can only live clone in assembly mode. So that is also different. So you select it here, there's no option to live clone, just clone. Then we've got a delete button. Again, this is something that you are probably not going to touch unless you've got a lot of things to delete. You are probably going to be using the triangle, which is the shortcut tool. So you just press triangle over the object. That is pretty obsolete, to be honest. You don't really need that. Let's just do that. Triangle. Let's put a few objects down. So I just press triangle and it deletes it, and I don't need to go into this and press that button at all. So that's that first half. We'll go into stamp shape and smear shape in the next tutorial. So I hope that was useful for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in your dreams.